voice of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare, side by side we stand, highlands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Almighty God, most beneficial and merciful, Creator of the universe and embodiment of divine wisdom and light, we come before you with thanksgiving and praise. May your will be done in our nation as it is in the heavens. Please bless our political leader, party officials, activists, and all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Give us the grace to always see good, be good, and do good, and the courage to serve the people. Protect us as we stand against injustice and iniquity, and inspire our endeavors to find the right solutions to the problems that are affecting our fellow citizens. Grant that we may always work together with humility and respect for the greater happiness of all and the honor and glory of our country. Live from UNC Battleground, this is the Virtual Report, streaming on all platforms.
Political Leader of the United National Congress, Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa, MPs, Senators, Councillors, Aldermen, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to our UNC Virtual Report. My name is Councillor Rajesh Lal, the proud representative of the District of Lengua Indian Walk in the Princeton Regional Corporation. This evening, I'm happy to be here with my UNC sister, Alderman Susan Holder from the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation, to take you through tonight's program. Tonight, we are live on TV Jagrati, Radio Jagrati, Synergy TV, Freedom 106.5 FM, and Radio 91.9 FM. Our first speaker tonight is a new addition to the UNC's parliamentary bench. A longtime UNC soldier, he's an electrical engineer and an attorney at law. He serves as the opposition's shadow minister for youth development and national service, as well as sports and community development. Please welcome to the UNC virtual platform, MP for Carney Central, Mr. Arnold Ram.
Everybody say, as we move in this people's revolution, my brothers and sisters, let's all walk together as one. This revolution is about restoring our democracy and revolution is about stopping this creeping dictatorship. Welcome to the revolution. People crying out for justice.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, Chairman, for that delightful introduction. To our esteemed and dear political leader, MPs, senators, local government practitioners, members of the media, and our very own UNC members locked on via the various social media platforms, I say pleasant good evening to you all. Today, as I stand before you to address you at this Monday night forum, it is clear that this country is on autopilot. So many of our institutions are failing with no sight of recovery. I challenge anyone to direct me to one department or one ministry that is properly functioning today. And it is not the workers' fault, as they will have you believe. It is the fault of those who are at the helm, who are unable to provide strategic planning and direction, and those at the level of the cabinet who are tasked with the responsibility to manage the affairs of this nation. Let me start by addressing you in one of the main issues that plague our society and many of our citizens, the road infrastructure. Recently, you would have heard the Minister of Works and Transport indicating that there isn't enough money to fix all the roads in Trinidad. Do you believe that? No. Absolutely not. When one sees the level of mismanagement, the corruption, the wanton waste, the lack of accountability and transparency currently taking place under this PNM regime, it really angers me. And I am sure many of you feel the same way. The feeling of discontent among the population is at an all-time high. This is why persons are resorting to protests and the blocking of major roads to highlight their plight. And I can understand their frustration, given the fact that many are noticing the callous disregard for what we call basic necessities in this country. And according to the newspaper report, the Works and Transport Minister Rohan Singhanan says, whilst he understands why some citizens resort to protest to agitate for better road conditions, his ministry does not have the money to repair all the nation's road. He goes on to say, the ministry does have a plan and program based on the availability of funding, and they have done 300 projects for the year so far. 300 projects for this financial year. I want to know where that project is being done. I can tell you, none of those projects are taking place in Caroni Central, Couva North, Couva South, Tabakit, and elsewhere. None. I challenge the Minister of Works and Transport to give us a listing of where those projects are taking place, because those 300 projects are not happening in any of my colleagues, opposition MPs, constituencies. And it goes again about an excuse about these infrastructure was done 60 years ago, and this is all you get from the PNM ministers. So, when it is the PNM tell you they have no money, I want to remind you of certain things that happened in the past. Money wasn't a problem to pay his cabinet colleagues approximately $23 million in rent. Money wasn't a problem there, not so? Money wasn't a problem to pay Shamfa Kojo her roaming phone bill, and I wish I had time tonight to tell you about how she going roaming in Birmingham at the Commonwealth Games, but I'll leave that for another night. Money wasn't a problem when taxpayers had to settle issues surrounding former Minister of Sports, Darrell Smith, and someone who our senatorial colleague calls Grabi-Wabi or something like that, of some sort. But money wasn't a problem then. Money wasn't a problem when the PNM could bring SRP Kate and others to investigate members of this opposition. And in this financial year, $40 million in this financial year, under the guise of a white-collar crime investigation, to investigate members of the opposition. Money is not a problem. Money is not a problem when you have the cost of independence celebration costing a whopping $7.5 million. It's not a problem then. Now, let me just put that into perspective for many of you listening. 7.5 million. In the Kuva Tabaki Regional Corporation, Tapara Regional Corporation, the allocation this year that was released was $4 million. It sounds plenty. When you take that $4 million and you divide it among 14 electoral districts, councillors, that is $285,000 per. Same thing happening in Penal Bay. Same thing in all UNC control corporation. Am I right? Yes. That is happening. So when they want to spend $7.5 million in Independence Day celebration, they are just fooling you. Money is not a problem when the Minister of Tourism expended $15 million for a taste of carnival, the return being $2.5 million or thereabout. Money is not a problem then. Money was not a problem to pay Rohan Sinanan for K. Donna when the PNM was constructing the Curb interchange. And the thing about that project here, let me just remind you all, that project, big fanfare and headline newspaper, no cost overruns, within time, within budget. That is the narrative they will feed you. They will feed you that narrative. When you ask, when your colleagues ask them, so how much you pay for K. Donna? They say, well, we haven't paid that yet. But as part of the project, you're boasting about savings on a project, but you have not dealt with the land acquisition required for the project and saying that you have made a savings. That is the level of hypocrisy by this government, right? Money is not a problem to pay Keys Scotland to sit on the roadmap to recovery. Not a problem. Money wasn't a problem to groom the golf course of Prime Minister to play golf during COVID-19. And I think my colleague, senatorial colleague, if you listen to him and Roberts, you have all information in respect of grooming and other things that is happening over there. I want you to listen to him. Right? So tonight, we call upon Minister Sinanan to tell us where has the money gone. Because there were two big loans taken out 1 year before the general election and 1 year after the general election from CAF. In 2019, $200 million loan taken out to fix roads. In 2021, another loan, $175 million. So it's a grand total of $375 million. We don't know where the money gone. Tonight, we make a call upon Rohan Sinanan to indicate to us, to the nation, which projects were completed with these loans. Because the first thing they want to tell you, when you're out there, is your car is not roadworthy. But the road is not even worthy to drive on. Right? Today, coming down here, on my way down here, I saw something on Facebook, a food basket truck on Facebook, flip up like that. You know, as we say, kilkiti, it up in the air. Right? So, that is the level of the road infrastructure that we have in this country. Right? So those are some of the things that we are plagued with, and we will want answers from the Honorable Minister of Works and Transport. Today, I want to remind you, as I move on, to the report. There was a special report, special branch report, which was dated the 5th of July 2019, and this was revealed by our senatorial colleague, Jayanti Lakshmi Dayal. And one of the findings was Cummings has 3 parcels of land belonging to agency at his own. 2 parcels are located at the southern main road, Kuva. Now I just ask Archie to put up a picture there that I'd sent him earlier. But whilst he's doing that, I'm dealing with the 2 parcels of land located on southern main road, Kuva. And I have in my possession a copy of the cadastral sheet for that area. And there is a plot which is approximately 959.5 meters square, and that is where the plots was located, or are located, corner Balizé Avenue on Southern Main Road. Now, growing up and going to school in Kuva for quite a number of years, I know after school, we're walking down from Maxi Taxi down the road there. you used to have a dung tree on the corner there, and right behind the dung tree, that empty lot, they used to have a play park. A play park. And all developers know, developers who are listening, you know, when you're doing a development, there must leave green space. So as far as I was concerned, that was the green space for that development according to this cadastral sheet I have. So the question remains, how and when did members connected to Foster Cummings or the companies connected to him receive that plot of land? I asked those questions. I want to also ask another question. Is there a plan to relocate the NIB office in Couva to that 3-story building there? That 3-story building, which was designated for a park, I want to ask that question. I want to know whether the landlords where the NIB is being housed in Upper Couva, whether they have been given notice that the lease will end and they will be moving into that building. I also want to ask, is there a plan to remove the ID card office located at Secure Credit Union to this building? I do not know. I ask those questions because what we are being told is that that building is fit for purpose for certain things. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are two of the issues I wanted to bring to your attention this afternoon in terms of national issues. As you know, our party is very strong. The party continues, together with our local government practitioners, councillors, aldermen, chairmen, and so forth, continue to represent you at all levels. The national executive as well, doing great work. Let me hear you. Believe that national executive is doing great work? Well, the national executive has tasked me with a responsibility. I just want to spend about 30 seconds in this football that the party is hosting on the 20th and 21st of August. Basically, it's a 2-day festival. UNC members only. Members can register up to the 17th of August. Get your registration. So if you're not a member and you want to participate in the tournament, you have until the 17th of August. Save and accept those who are under 20s who can register up to the day of the event. So we have the flyer up on the screen there. We'll continue to share it. I'll ask the social media persons to share it. Continue to sign up. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you.
Everybody crying out for democracy.
Now it's time to take a stand, yeah.
Come on! Cause this is the revolution, the people's revolution. This is the revolution. I wanna hear everybody sing.
A pleasant good night to my leader. It would be remiss of me to come here tonight and not greet my leader and my UNC family. Tonight I want to just reiterate a little bit on what Dr. MP Arnold Ram just said to you all there. He shared some vital information, and I think you all need to give him another round of applause. Tonight, it's my privilege to introduce to you Dr. Lakram Bodhi. Bodhi. A man who has been serving people before his entry to politics. He is an excellent medical practitioner, and his passion for healthcare is no secret. Dr. Bodhi served as the chairman of this served as the chairman of the Southwest Regional Health Authority under Kamala Prasad Bisesa administration, and today he is serving his second term as the Member of Parliament for Faizabad. Please welcome to the platform tonight the MP for Faizabad, Dr. Lakram Bodhi.
This people's revolution, my brothers and sisters. Let's all walk together as one. This revolution is about restoring our democracy. And this revolution is about stopping this creeping dictatorship. Welcome to the revolution. People crying out for justice.
Thank you very much, Alderman Susan Holder, for your kind introduction. And I know you're from Sandy Grande. I want you to encourage to listen to Ravi B, who sometimes uses another form of my name in his contributions. The political leader of the United National Congress, fellow speakers on this virtual platform tonight, the members of the national executive of this party, my parliamentary colleagues, the local government representatives, numerous councillors, chairmen, mayors who are here tonight with us, members of the media, my UNC family, friends and well-wishers, to the many of us who are looking on tonight on the various media. A very pleasant good evening to you all. I am very happy to join you here tonight on our virtual platform to raise a few matters affecting citizens in the health sector. But before I delve into that, I want to commend my colleague, MP Ram, for his contribution. And he mentioned about plot, and he was speaking about plots of land. I take it in that mention. But I also want to say that there seems to be a plot by this government in another way, another kind of plot, which is to keep everyone in pain, literally and figuratively. And of course, nowhere is that more apparent than the performance or lack of performance in the health sector. So, ladies and gentlemen, now that the COVID-19 pandemic is receding into the background and some sense of normalcy is returning to our lives, those seeking health care in our public hospitals and health centers are facing numerous problems. And I want to speak a little bit about that tonight. We are seeing, as we suspected and flagged before, that the much-touted two-tier healthcare system, often boasted about by this government and its Minister of Health as a parallel healthcare system, was nothing short of a hoax. We are seeing the effects of that now. Sure, we had parallel healthcare institutions waiting to be used when the pandemic struck. Fortunately, we had a brand new Couva hospital, compliments of the Kamla Prasad Bisesa government and the People's Partnership government. We had refurbished Cora and Augustus Long hospitals, again compliments of Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the People's Partnership government. And of course, the Point Fortin and Arima Hospital, built on the vision and foundations of the KPB-led PP government, was there right in time for the pandemic. So we did have those institutions ready and waiting to serve us in the time of the pandemic. But the regular healthcare system suffered because they chose to deploy the same staff from the regular healthcare system to staff the hospitals, the COVID hospitals. So when they told us that they had two systems, in truth and in fact, you had two sets of institutions, but one set of staff was being asked to do both jobs. And therefore, that is the reason that the regular healthcare system suffered, because they chose to deploy the same staff. Let me give you an example. For example, the anesthetists who are required to give you anesthetic to put you to sleep when you require surgery, those anesthetists were deployed and moved from the San Fernando Hospital to go to Augustus Long and Point Fortin. The ones from San Fernando and the ones from the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex were moved to the Couva Hospital. So as a result of this, many surgeries at the regular hospitals were deferred and postponed because of those arrangements. So this is one of the factors that has created a backlog that is now affecting you, my brothers and sisters. The other issue is this. Quite often, when doctors and nurses are ready to do their jobs in the operating theater, they are faced with shortage of critical drugs and supplies. And of course, that is one of the other reasons that your surgery might be canceled. So while some of these resource issues may be what we term global supply chain related because of the pandemic, more often than not, I'm saying to you tonight, it is a failure by the government to purchase and supply these items in a timely manner to allow the doctors and nurses to do their jobs in the hospital. The fact that you waited a year to get your surgery and made all preparations is of no concern to this government, as your surgery is postponed for yet another time and with no guarantee that it will be done when the time comes. The elderly amongst us are treated even more badly. The waiting time for cataract surgery, that's a common concern, a common problem, cataracts in the elderly, that can restore your vision. The waiting time is more than a year, and in some cases, much more than 1 year. And then you show up and it is postponed for another year. So you are lucky if by the time you get your cataract surgery, that you're still able to see, that you have your vision. The waiting time for joint replacements, the hip and knee joints that sometimes need to be replaced as you get older, is more than a year and sometimes much more than that. The fact that you have to suffer pain, discomfort, and disability whilst you wait for your much-needed operation is of no concern to this Minister of Health or his government. The waiting time for common painful surgical conditions like hernia and gallbladder inflammation is sometimes over 2 years. And sadly, the waiting time for patients who require surgery for certain types of cancer is unsatisfactory. Now imagine you're diagnosed with cancer and you're told that you require a surgical operation, and then you're told that you have to wait and you're not sure. So this of course creates fear and uncertainty, and this now causes and forces many patients to fork out large sums of money that they do not have, to try and get their treatment done privately sometimes. And this is a very unfortunate situation, an unfortunate burden on the citizens of our country who depend on the public healthcare system. And sadly, patients have no redress in the public health sector. So I want to say tonight that it is our intention that when we take back the reins of government, that we are going to refresh and renew the patient's charter that we initiated during our term in office. And that patient charter will guarantee that your surgeries will be done within the internationally accepted time frames. So that is something that we intend to do as soon as we get back in. And you can be certain, my brothers and sisters, that when Kamla Prasad Bisesa once again becomes Prime Minister of this country, that she will make this happen. My brothers and sisters, I say this because this is the Prime Minister who, when she saw patients suffering in the corridors of the San Fernando General Hospital, waiting for beds under a previous PNM regime, took the momentous decision in 2012 to convert the proposed Chancery Lane office complex next to the San Fernando General Hospital into the San Fernando Teaching Hospital. And a mere 2 years later, this hospital was delivered, adding a much-needed 214 beds to the existing San Fernando Hospital, thereby relieving so much pain and suffering. But, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, the situation of waiting for beds seems to have returned to the San Fernando Hospital under this PNM regime, who continue to retain RHA boards that are incapable of running a proper health service. But you know what's interesting, my brothers and sisters? The SWRHA had a public meeting last week, Thursday. Now, this is a statutory requirement. As a former chairman of a board, I know that you are required by law to have a public board meeting, but you're also required to advertise the meeting. You know why? Because it gives the public a chance to go there and to, to talk about the issues that you have and to raise the issues. But this was quietly held. But you know what is important, what is most amazing is that if you listened and you read the reports about this meeting, you will believe that all is well at the San Fernando Hospital and the health sector. But you, the suffering public, know better. Because it is you and your loved ones who continue to wait long hours in casualty and the health centers to be seen. It is you who once again have to wait days for a bed. It is you who have to wait, who have to fork out your limited cash to get the CT and the MRI and the blood test done privately when it is taking too long in the health sector, in the public health sector. And it is you who have to buy much needed medicines out of your pocket when over half of the items on your prescription is not available at the public health care pharmacy. I know this, ladies and gentlemen, because as a member of parliament, many of the patients, many of my constituents come to me with prescriptions showing where the drugs cannot be supplied, and I'm sure this applies to many of my parliamentary colleagues as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I now turn to the issue of the chronic disease burden on our healthcare system, which has worsened during the COVID-19 pandemic because of the so-called parallel health system failing. Now, I just want to point out something, and this is something that you may have noticed. It may have happened to people you know, relatives, friends, and so on. The WHO and other international agencies are trying to tally what is termed additional deaths. These are deaths that occurred during the COVID-19 pandemic, but were not due to COVID-19. So they were non-COVID patients, but whose lives may possibly have been saved because they did not, if they had received timely or adequate treatment during the pandemic. Those figures for Trinidad and Tobago are not yet available, but it will make interesting analysis when those figures are available in terms of how well or how badly our health system performed during the pandemic. So I just want to turn now to another important area affecting patients in this country on a daily basis. And this is the issue of cardiac disease, It's a major cause of death and morbidity in Trinidad and Tobago. So what happens when you get a heart attack in this country and you go to a public health facility? Well, you are triaged in the casualty and certain investigations are done, you are given treatment and so on. However, in a great number of cases, you require a procedure called a coronary angiogram to determine the extent of the block in your heart vessels. This is not available at the San Fernando General Hospital as I speak. And this means you either have to pay the $10,000 required to get it done privately, or you join the Ministry of Health waiting list for the government to pay for it. Now, my colleague mentioned the $7.5 million for the independence celebration. At $10,000 a piece for an angiogram, this can benefit 750 patients, I'm saying by the way. So while you're waiting on the angiogram, the doctors sometimes have to treat you without the benefits of proper investigation. Now, under the Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the People's Partnership government, I want to say that a space was identified at the San Fernando General Hospital for the construction of this facility. Designs were done, and the project was sent out for tendering by 2015. 7 years later, this PNM government is yet to start this project, and in fact, the last time I raised it in the parliament, the Minister of Health indicated that there were other more urgent priorities for his government. So you might want to ask yourself, ladies and gentlemen, priorities like what? But I'll leave that there. So while the population is waiting for this facility, patients continue to die from heart disease. And I want to once again call upon the Minister of Health and the government to build the cardiac catheterization lab at the San Fernando Hospital. But if they fail to do this, ladies and gentlemen, we promise you that under the Kamla Prasad Bisesa, as Prime Minister again, the cardiac cath lab at the San Fernando Hospital will happen, just as the San Fernando Teaching Hospital happened to relieve the suffering of the public seeking health care. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have a lot more that I want to say to you tonight, but of course we are constrained by time. But as I close here tonight, I just want to say that the performance of this Minister of Health and this government is no better than in any other area of their governance. After spending close to $40 billion on the health sector over the past 7 years, and this excludes the separate expenditure on COVID-19, things have gotten better. Things have gotten worse, not better. It will get better under a new government by Kamla Prasad Bisesa. So I say to you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to resuscitate and save a collapsing health sector, and indeed all the other sectors in Trinidad and Tobago. And this, ladies and gentlemen, can only be done by a new government led by Kamla Prasad Bisesa. I thank you.
Welcome to the revolution.
People crying out for justice. Some of them crying out for freedom.
Want freedom. Everybody crying out for democracy.
Now it's time to take a stand, yeah.
Come on! Cause this is the revolution, the people's revolution. This is the revolution.
Thank you, Dr. Bodo, for that very edifying presentation. You know, I was just there thinking, if St. Joseph can dry his eyes and listen to Dr. Bodo, healthcare could be in a much better place in Trinidad and Tobago. You all agree? So our next speaker tonight needs no introduction. She knows half of Trinidad and the other half know her. This vibrant young woman has practically grown up in the UNC. She serves as the Deputy Chairman of the National Executive. Please welcome to the virtual platform none other than the MP for St. Augustine, Ms. Khadija Amin.
Now it's time to take a stand, yeah.
Come on! Cause this is the revolution, the people's revolution. This is the revolution. I wanna hear everybody sing. Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom.
Thank you very much, my brother, Councillor Rajesh Lal. I want to take this opportunity to point out that our two chairpersons tonight are UNC local government practitioners, Councillor Rajesh and Alderman Susan. Political leader of the United National Congress and the woman who will return as Prime Minister of this country one day, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa. My colleagues, you know that there is a local government election due this year, 2022. I am beginning to get a little worried. I'm beginning to get a little worried because I'm not hearing the PNM talking about calling the election date. I am beginning to get worried because the PNM has been talking so much about local government reform, but we are not seeing the action. I'm beginning to get worried because there's an EBC report that was laid in Parliament for some changes in boundaries that the PNM has yet to bring to be debated. I am beginning to get worried because they also have a bill proposed to change 2 municipal corporations into borough, give them borough status. But I ain't see nothing happening yet. We have grown accustomed to talk and no action from the PNM in general, but especially when it comes to local government. In the last year budget, there was zero mention of local government. Zero. In the whole national budget of Trinidad and Tobago, no mention of local government. In fact, when you do a word check, the word local government only comes up when a local government election is due in this country. It comes up in their manifesto, it comes up in their budget, and it comes up on their platform. That is because the PNM does not care about local government at all. They have been promising local government reform. You hear them talking about it. Brace your ears, they will talk more about it just now. But local government reform is a tune the PNM has been singing since I was a councillor. I remember 4 years straight, local government elections were postponed with the excuse that they were doing local government reform. In 2006, we were supposed to face the polls. They postponed. 2007, they went to Parliament and they postponed for another year. In 2008, the PNM, led by Patrick Manning at the time, postponed the election for another year. In 2009, they did the same thing. It wasn't until 2010 that democracy was restored when Kamla Persad-Bissessar became Prime Minister and she called the local government election in 2010. And the UNC and the People's Partnership, there was a sweep throughout the country. They have been talking about local government reform. In the PNM's manifesto in 2019, they went to town. All kinds of beautiful promises in their local government manifesto. It was the same thing the election before that in 2016. I just look at their manifesto, you know. All it is fluff and emptiness. That is what it is. They talk about reform there too, but there was nothing specific to hold them to. In the general election of 2015, in 2020, they went in Hyatt. They had a big meeting to talk about their plans for the country, and they talk about local government reform. Colm Imbert, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the same man who has been squeezing the corporation funding, is the man who was talking about local government reform and how much they value local government. But have you seen any improvement in local government under this PNM? There has been a steady decline in local government efficiency. And it is not because things hard. It is not because of COVID. It is not because of the war in Ukraine. It is because of the incompetence of the PNM government. I can tell you that when Kamla Persad-Bissessar was Prime Minister, there was a political will, a drive to make governance closer to people, that every minister, every ministry delivered hand in hand with local government. All our councillors were empowered. Today, even the PNM councillors will tell you that they fare better under UNC government than under PNM government. Things have gotten so bad. It is not the UNC saying this, you know. The facts don't lie. Pinal Debe couldn't even buy diesel for their vehicles. They could not even send out their equipment to clear the drains to prevent the flooding because they didn't have the funding. In every corporation, Councillor Awonka even fixed a wooden bridge in Kuva Corporation in this day and age. You want to talk about improving local economic development, and your councillors and regional corporations are being sidelined. I am looking on with interest because I see hotels in Tobago getting grants to improve tourism. Are there going to be incentives for Mayaro to improve tourism and drive the economy? The chairman of Mayaro Regional Corporation, Mr. Raymond Cozier, is a man of the soil. And we in the UNC are people who want to see local economic development and local tourism as a driver. Do you think the PNM wants that? They do not. They do not care about local government. They care about enriching their friends and family and financiers. But I want to warn you, as they come to talk about local government reform, one of the things they will tell you when you say, it has no money, we have no funding, they will say things hard, but we have a solution. They have said that their solution to funding in corporations is to bring property tax. They have said that that will give the regional corporations the funding, and therefore they are asking all corporations to support bringing the property tax. Now, in developed countries, property tax is collected by municipal bodies to fund improvement in infrastructure. They improve the play park, the roads, ensure that there's no flooding and so on. And taxes vary from place to place. Some places are more expensive to live because the amenities versus, you might have town centers, you might have rural areas, agricultural areas. It depends on the type of township that you are in. But that is not what the PNM proposes. The PNM is proposing that the taxes be collected by the regional corporation. But you are only the collector. The money goes to the consolidated fund. So when they tell you that the regional corporations will collect taxes, I want you to know that that is a lie. You are only the messenger. And the money goes to the consolidated fund for who? For Imbert and the Minister of Finance, whoever they may be, to decide if they're going to buy boats, paintings, or pay forest rent. That is what the money is going for. Not to fix your road and drain and improve your community. I want to repeat tonight for all of Trinidad and Tobago to hear that the United National Congress says no to property tax. We will not support it. Now is not the time to bring harsh measures to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We are emerging from a pandemic when so many people lost their jobs, have lost income, and some of them could barely make to buy food. Now is not the time to bring new taxes. The other concern I mentioned when I opened was this 10th report of the EBC. That is the report where they have the boundary changes. Yes, that one. Now, this EBC report was due in June of 2021. June passed, we see nothing. The leader of opposition, on a Monday night platform like this one, raised the matter. And she threatened to take legal action in order for the government to bring that 10th report of the EBC to Parliament. Because we had information that the EBC had completed the report, they had sent it to the minister, which was Kazem Hussein at the time, and he had failed to bring it to Parliament. So the leader threatened legal action, and the Friday after the Monday night meeting, I filed a motion on the adjournment asking to condemn the government for not bringing this report. So between the leader's threat on Monday, they rushed very quickly, and on Wednesday or Thursday, just before the sitting of the Parliament,
they brought a supplementary order paper, which means it wasn't on the original order paper, but they brought a supplementary order paper, and all of a sudden, Mr. EBC report appeared. The 10th report of the EBC was just shoved in, and they said it was an administrative error. I still brought my motion because I felt that even if there was an administrative error, the government is responsible. You brought a bill, you brought an EBC report, you didn't see it come to the order paper. Since June, July passed, August passed, you reach all the way down to January, February, no EBC report appeared. And the irresponsible government did not seek to look for that EBC report to file it because they had no intention in the first place. And we know that the PNM is no stranger to postponing elections. In 2018, the PNM only called the by-election in Belmont and the by-election in Barataria because the leader of opposition threatened legal action against them if they didn't do it. In Debe South recently, people protest because the councillor there passed away and time keep passing and the government was not naming a date for a by-election. And again, the leader of opposition, pre-action letter, and that is what they respond to. Does that seem like a government who cares about democracy, who cares about the will of the people voting? But they might have a reason for people not to vote this time because they're not very popular right now, and people are only waiting to vote the PNM out. And the PNM is so short of achievements in local government. We have an election around the corner. Now I'll tell you, they're going to start paving all kind of road, In Sandy Grande Corporation, in the last local election, they pave over mud. That's to tell you. And soon as election done, the road mash up. That is what they do. They don't care. But first, they have no achievements in local government. They have a bill on the order paper to create 2 new boroughs. From regional corporation, they're going to rename Diego Martin and Superior into boroughs. What is this? It is only a name change. What is the criteria to create a borough? We are in support of creating boroughs out of regional corporations, but you must have a development objective. You must have something that ties into the national development and national objectives. You must have something that stimulates local tourism, investment, local economic development. You are going to rename Superior into a borough, and high streets in Superior still flooding, and the bank have to close in the middle of the day because that is a borough? Come on. We are not in support of any superficial name change. But as time goes on, and we still have all these things in local government, they passed the bill, but no parts of it has been proclaimed. They have these other things pending. I am wary that the PNM might try to postpone local government elections again. And I am putting Trinidad and Tobago on guard that we must not stand for the suppression of democracy. Elections is an opportunity for us to cast our vote. This is our opportunity to say enough is enough. A local government election is due. The term ends in December of 2022. And I am calling on the Prime Minister to call the local government elections when they are due. Thank you.
To the revolution.
People crying out for justice. Some of them crying out for freedom.
One freedom. Everybody crying out for democracy.
Now it's time to take a stand, yeah.
Come on! Cause this is the revolution. The people's revolution.
You all just heard the young lioness of the United National Congress. She deserves utter applause tonight. Our next speaker is a UNC stalwart. I usually call him the lion. the man who was called out by the PM of Trinidad and Tobago to meet him on the pavement. He is a firebrand in the parliament and on the platform, and in a few moments you would see why. Please welcome the Member of Parliament for Oropouche East, Dr. Rudal Munilal.
Cause this is the revolution, the people's revolution. This is the revolution. I wanna hear everybody sing. Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Everybody sing. As we move in this people's revolution, my brothers and sisters, let's all walk together as one. This revolution is about restoring.
Thank you very much, Sister Susan Holder, for your kind introduction. I knew you would pronounce lion correct. Thank you so much, so much. Brothers and sisters, may I begin by welcoming all of you here. It's so great to see so many faces assembled here with this UNC family. It's great to see the faces, to hear the noise, to hear the clapping. And I want to welcome all our supporters and friends and supporters, activists across Trinidad and Tobago, our colleagues and friends in North America, Europe, and the wider Caribbean listening to us. Tonight we are extremely proud to continue our Monday night forum meetings. We acknowledge as well here tonight all our parliamentary colleagues, members of the executive, and of course the next Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar. A special night indeed. Tonight we welcome listeners and viewers on Jagriti TV and radio, Synergy TV, Freedom Radio 106.5 FM, Street Radio 91.9 FM. Joining us tonight and the thousands and thousands of you listening. It's a pleasure to be here and to speak for a few minutes on some of the issues affecting us in this country and some of the burning matters that we must address as a country, as a nation, that continue to cause trauma and suffering and pain to citizens throughout the length and breadth of this nation. Brothers and sisters, this hopeless and hapless and clueless government of Keith Rowley, on the verge of spending $7.5 million in fireworks to disturb your pets, on the verge of wasting millions of dollars in all type of fanciness for the anniversary. And this is our 60th year as an independent nation, 60 years anniversary. The PNM has been in power for 45 of those years. 45 years they have been in office. Only 15 years, 1, 2, 3 other administrations were here. And today they talk as if they have never been in office. They now come, they drop from the sky. And I'll come to that one, the Wassa matter, in a few moments. But they 45 years they have been in charge of the Treasury, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and this is what we have to show. The nation has collapsed. The government is out of control. They are out of control. Today, brothers and sisters, wasting money. Do you know TSTT went to court the other day? Imagine TSTT. They take public money to go to court to argue that them is a private company. That's what they were doing. When they take millions of dollars of taxpayers' money to pay in the court to say we're not funded by the government. That is the problem. And they could not pay what is called international providers. So if you go to New York or Florida or somewhere else in the world and you pick up your phone and say, let me dial and call, you can't call nobody. Can't receive no call unless you're on some other system out there to call through WhatsApp and whatever. So TSTT, like the rest of the government, has lost control. Brothers and sisters, look at what is happening with T&Tech. Power outage one way or another. Half the country in darkness because they simply cannot manage with the private providers of power. That is also a sign that the government is out of control. I don't have to tell you about flooding. This is a place here, it drizzle and you overrun with water. You can't go out, you can't come in. The only place no flood is the Wassa Dam. That's the only place you never hear flood, you know. The reservoir at Wassa don't flood. But the entire country, people feel the trauma. In my constituency, in other areas, they feel the trauma. It drizzle a bit for a little hour. And it's pressure. your house, under the house, overrun with water and so on, and all the attendant problems that cause. They cannot deal with that. They are out of control. They cannot deal with that. And don't talk about this thing now, the latest thing. Cable theft, electrical wire. This is a country where the police service, under a corrupt government and an incompetent and efficient government, and Fitzgerald, waste of time, Hines. The police now appears to have collapsed on us under that PNM management. Imagine people jumping over a fence and thieving the electrical wire from a government installation. You all know that? Could I tell you something? Now, I hope they don't charge me for treason now. But in Cedras, there's something called the 360 radar, which is some satellite-driven technology to ensure that we protect coasts and all the things associated with border control, patrol, and so on. I am told that 1 month ago, thieves stole electrical cable and wire associated with that, and that's not working now. Now, I'm not advertising, you know. I think the councillor is correcting me. 1 month ago, the thief wire cables and electrical installation at a radar system. They jump over a fence and thief iron beam and steel from the Ministry of Works. They jump over an next fence in Wassa and thief Wassa property. Brothers and sisters, police getting hold up and kidnapped now. Look where we reach. The policeman now get kidnapped and hold up. So this government has lost control of the society. And they do not care. They don't even want to put their hands on the wheel, brothers and sisters. And that is a sign that they have come to the end of their term. And the United National Congress must take over the reins of power. So this bold-faced robbery taking place in the day, in the night, all hours, our citizens are without safety. Hines responds, he said, I'm not responsible for safety, you know, me, I know nothing about that. He's just holding our office and drawing our salary every month to play the fool. That's what he's doing. So the society is collapsing. Now the government is attacking, brothers and sisters, Wassa. And I come to that immediately. Today, the minister, whatever his name, Marvin Gonzalez, I thought it was Johnson, Gonzalez. I feel so sorry for him. They told him, Mr. Munilal made a statement in a press conference yesterday, go respond quickly. Poor fella didn't even have time to put on a jacket and tie. He was in some other function, it appears, and he ran in front of the camera, and he said, you have to respond. And he responded, and I feel sorry for him. Honestly, I do. Because he's not a long-time political adversary or opponent. He's a relatively newcomer. But they ought not to have put him in the lion's den like that. They ought not. Because when you fall in there, you'll get you up. You'll get you up. And you don't blame the lion. That is in the nature of the lion. You can't blame the lion. Don't blame him. That's in nature. So we'll have to deal with this fella tonight. So he goes now in a press conference today. Yesterday I was making a few points, and I want to repeat because it's very important that I tell you, you must know, brothers and sisters, when we were in office, we worked with the same Wassa management, with the same Wassa workers, with the same Wassa institution. We invested $1.3 billion in Wassa. We had 1,400 projects at Wassa. We provided water to 74% of the population 24/7 by 2015. I repeat, by 2015, 74% of the population had 24/7 supply of water. Today, the customer service manager of Wassa, about 2 months, 3 months ago, and Mr. Barry Padarat, our MP in Princestown, told us this, he was there, reported that today they have water for 16% of the population 24/7. When we left, it was 74%. We invested $1.3 billion, 1,400 projects. You must remember that we had a plan at Wassa. We had capital investment in Wassa to have 100% of the population with 24/7 supply of water by 2018. When we were there, brothers and sisters, the man come today, he said, oh, Munilal could be saying that. He said by 2015, they didn't, that wasn't so. And he started to talk about 2012. I am talking about 2015 when we demit office. He talking about 2012. And he comes with this cock and bull story. It have a court drama on TV. I don't know if somebody knows. It's called Bull. He reminded me of that court drama. He come with this story today, and I will tell you in a nutshell because the time won't permit me for sure. He comes to say that when we were in office, we were in government, Ganga Singh went and write a letter to IDB and say we are applying for a loan from IDB, and we committed to cutting down the staff and so on. That is what this fella come to say. His argument was blame the UNC, they didn't fire the people. That's what he's saying. He said anything go wrong, all you blame the UNC. UNC didn't fire the thousands of people they had to. So of course I was in contact as well because I was there. I mean, I was on the compound. I know, I ought to know. I also contacted the former Minister Ganga Singh, contacted Mr. Padarat, who shadows this area now, brothers and sisters. And it is amazing. The minister said today that the UNC partnership, the partnership administration, was taking a loan from the IDB, and part of the conditionalities was to fire people. Brothers and sisters, I am reading from the IDB release, dated December 13, 2012. This is a release from the Inter-American Development Bank. With great respect, this is not a blog. This is the people putting out a statement. And hear what they say about Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago improves environmental conditions with $246.5 million loan from IDB. Funds will finance first stage of three-phase program aimed at curbing discharge of untreated wastewater. This had to do not with the overall restructuring of WASA, as the minister made us to believe today. It had to do with wastewater treatment plants. And two major ones, one in San Fernando and one in Malabar. This is what it had to do. And we confirmed that the conditionality of this was part of the loan was for what is called VSEP, Voluntary Separation of Employment Program. Not mandatory, not firing people, not sending them home. This had to do with a VSEP program, 11 million US more or less, for that program. But the minister today, he said them sign up a loan with IDB for X million dollars, and part of it was to send home people. It was a voluntary program. This fella don't understand what is voluntary and what is involuntary. That is why he's a voluntary fool. Yeah, he put himself to be an idiot. So this was never any program to force people to go home. It was a program to negotiate with the unions to reduce, if it's possible, through VSEP. And they come today and tell you, and let me tell you the next thing of this, do you know the wastewater treatment plant, Malabar, was completed by 2018 more or less? Do you know they are still to complete the plant in San Fernando? That hasn't been completed. And under former Chairman Romney, I believe at WASA, they had a cost variation of $19 million, cost variation on that. So as soon as PNM come in, they hire more people and it's variation for you. The San Fernando part of this has not been completed yet. Malabar was completed. And this was the work of the People's Partnership Government under Kamla Prasad Bisasa. We took a loan as well at that time to deal with flooding in Port of Spain. Do you know when they came in office? They were so incompetent. They foul up everything, mismanage everything, and they could not access the loan. And the loan went back to the IDB, so to speak. They couldn't do that. Today, drizzle in Port of Spain, everywhere flood away. And we had a program to deal with flooding in Port of Spain under this very arm of the government, the ministry. Then yesterday I told him, I said, tell us whether you have recruited a Canadian company to participate in the transformation of the water sector and WASA. He put in his statement today in the papers, he said, me I know nothing about that, I baffled. Now he baffled, huh? So you could imagine how I feeling. If he baffled. But I have in my hand here, look, I have in my hand March 9, 2022, that's a few months ago, 4 months ago. Yeah. Modulated water plants coming to improve water supply, Gonzales. Could you imagine that? Renuka Singh is the writer. And he appeared at a conversation with the Prime Minister, and he announced that they entered into a partnership. They signed a memorandum of understanding for a modulated water treatment plant with a Canadian company. The fellow went today, a few hours ago, and he said, I don't know what you're talking about, no Canadian company. We never sign nothing or do nothing with that. Never do nothing like that. So, brothers and sisters, this fellow really is in an alternative world. He's not following what is happening with his own speech. Forget Wassa. The fellow not understanding what he's saying. And he continues to say that they will go and invest in this Canadian company, modern technology, all to restructure and all to transform the collection of water and the provision of water to people and so on. So, Mr. Gonzalez, tell me, were you lying at the conversation with the Prime Minister or were you lying today? Just tell us which day you were lying. That's all we want to know. We don't want to know whether you lie or not. We want to know whether you lie in March or you lie in August. That's the question, really. There's no other question because, look, I mean, unless the whole newspaper got it wrong, this is what the man said. Brothers and sisters, the IDB told us about that. So this is the problem we face, but Wassa is a football now. It is a football. And the second and final issue I would raise tonight, very briefly, is the matter of human trafficking. Yesterday, we had a damning report in the newspapers, continue today. The United States Department of State had a shocking revelation that this country could not satisfy the minimum requirements in dealing with the elimination of human trafficking. And we are on the verge of being blacklisted or downgraded again by the United States authorities. And importantly, they have identified a twin problem of official complicity and official complacency. Meaning that officials of law enforcement and public political officials may be involved in that problem. That is shocking. What is Heinz doing about that? What are they? And this involves women and children. I see the Women's League put out some statement about some other matter, whatever matter. But they, don't laugh and think you'll distract me here. And they put out a matter. But of course, the government and the honorable, you distracted me, If we were in another environment, I ask this fellow to be removed. The honorable Prime Minister has no interest in human trafficking, in women, the abuse of women and children, brothers and sisters. He has no interest at all. And these are the issues that we have to deal with. Do you know, under our government, under the government of Kamla Persad-Bissessar, we established something called a counter-human trafficking unit. Do you know in the report, it is in the report today, and the newspaper, one of the issues raised by the United States authorities was that this government has starved that unit of resources and staff. We established the unit to deal with this critical problem, dealing with, heinous crimes against women and children. We established the unit when we were in office, and they have starved the unit of resources, human resources, staff, and so on. And the American government has signaled that as a critical problem. So they have no authority to speak now on matters of crime and fighting crime. The Minister of Energy, I will end by telling you, the Minister of Energy went to Venezuela last week, Friday. You all know that? He sat in a room with a man who is declared to be an international drug trafficker, sanctioned by the United States. Stuart Young sat in a room with him to discuss what nobody knows. Nothing will come out of that meeting. But it is a government that rubs shoulders with drug traffickers. And I say it openly, this is not the first time Stuart Young has had some contact with persons who are before court or international tribunal or local court charged for drug trafficking, possession of ammunition and so on. He has a previous experience, I believe, so he's accustomed. But that is harmful to our international relationship with the wider world. So brothers and sisters, this is the position they have kept us in. It is time for action. It is time to highlight, to mobilize, to agitate, and ensure that the time is coming close when we must remove Keith Rowley and this band of corrupt and incompetent and inefficient ministers he have with him. And no amount of cabinet change and rearrange and reshuffle will help him this time. So thank you all. Look forward to seeing all of you on Friday for our grand UNC Family Thanksgiving Appreciation event at the Debe Water Park, 12 noon on Friday. Thank you and God bless you all.
If you cut me, you go see blood. And if you squeeze me, you go feel the love. We are one people under the sun. One nation under the law. So who feel the black? Who feel the black? Who feel the white? Who feel the white? I don't know. But it's set till tomorrow night. Who feel the wrong? Who feel the wrong? Who feel the right? Who feel the right? Come and go. Come and go. And all who feel the too bright. Let me jump up. Let me wind up. Party non-stop. Ramage dingo que te we come to play mass. Every creed and class. Don't let nothing pass. Like a repetitive, all the love inside away.
First woman Prime Minister, first woman Attorney General, first woman to chair the Commonwealth of 54 nations, first woman opposition leader. Welcome KPB Plus, solid everywhere.
Like a repetitive, all the love inside away.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Good evening, all. Good evening, good evening. What a wonderful evening to see so many of you here. I could feel the love, can you? I can feel the warmth. I have an expression I use. I can feel it, I can hear it, and I can taste it. And that is what I feel tonight. We can feel it. We can hear it, we can taste it. I can feel the victory is in the air for the United National Congress. Thank you for joining us, my friends. Great to be together again. And with each meeting, we will continue to expand. So let me make a special welcome to our local government practitioners. You are the people of the moment. Give yourself a round of applause. Let's big it up for two local government chairpersons, Susan Holder and Rajesh Lal, who've been sharing here this evening. And of course, thanks to all the speakers who came before me, Dr. Munilal, MP Munilal, MP Khadija, MP Arnold Ram, and Dr. Bodo, MP Dr. Bodo. Big them up, please. Thank them for sharing their thoughts. We have not met, we did not meet last week because of the special holiday. And I want to really give some thanks to some people who helped us to put together a fantastic Emancipation Day celebration. So let's give it up to Tahaka, to Viliana, and of course to our party organizer, Ravi Ratiram, and all the others who participated. It was a great day to share with people last Monday. So we missed you, but we were still with others in a very important function. I want to take a moment to congratulate our team, the athletes at the Commonwealth Games. Can we big them up? They have been flying the red, white, and black very high at those games, and they continue to make us all proud. And whilst we acknowledge their work at those games, I want to take another moment to express condolences on behalf of the UNC and on my own behalf on the passing of the former United States Ambassador to Trinidad, Mr. Mandela. We send our condolences to his family. Now, I see they like my name. They cannot leave my name out of their mouths. If they don't call Kamala name for the day, I feel them has got kind of a bank or some kind of problem. Something happens. Yes, yes. They'll have a bad day now, so you're correct. And I saw the Women's League again. When people are busy on a Sunday trying to cook Sunday meal, look after the children, put food on the table, Sunday morning these people run out there to do what? Blame Kamala. Blame Kamala, that's what they did. Calling my name in their bacchanal and their comments. I have nothing to do with that. I have absolutely nothing to do with anybody's domestic business. Nothing whatsoever. So what you calling me? Why are you blaming me? I have nothing to do with that. The Prime Minister man who said, I'm not in all your bedroom, you know. You all remember that? He told us, I am not in your bedroom. So leave me out of your bacchanal and leave me out of your comments. That Women's League has nothing to do, man. When so many people we see for the year are missing, so many women are murdered, so many children, have they come out to say a word on a Monday morning? On a Tuesday morning, on a Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays? Not a single day have they lifted their voices in support of the women and children of this country. But you want to call Kamala name. Look, leave my name out of your mouth. Am I do a, what the fella name? Will Smith? Am I do a Will Smith? Just leave my name out of your mouth, I'm telling you. Focus on putting food on tables, not on bacchanal. Some rumor circulating about somebody That's not our business. Why are you getting into that business, Women's League? That's not your business. The business for you and for this government is that you focus on the destruction that your leader is wreaking on our country, wrecking our country. You should focus on the fact that our women and girls continue to live in fear for their lives. And as I say, to date, not a squeak out of them. You cannot get access to things like pepper spray, the women. How long they pass this piece of law? How long? How many more must die before you give women that right to be able to protect themselves and their children and their families? What have you done? All the boasted. Why will you not make that pepper spray come into effect? And the way you operate in government, it must be because you're waiting to give some friend or family a contract. It might well be that you're waiting for them to set up a business to import the pepper spray and then put a new name on it and sell it. Why is the pepper spray not in effect? Why don't you instead focus on the fact that members of your party were implicated in a pedophile ring? You all remember that? PNM, Pedophile National Movement. Why don't you focus on that? Why don't you focus on the fact that thousands of families struggling to survive because your government failed to create jobs, to diversify the economy, to cut social programs? You failed. I think Dr. Munilal talked about the government total destruction. Why don't you focus on the fact, or say something of the fact that thousands of children are falling behind in education? Yes? Falling behind in education. Their mental health is seriously affected. I am told by those who work in that area of health, and I think Dr. Boda might subscribe, the number of mental health cases of children has increased tremendously because you have failed to provide for them. You have failed to take care of the education of our children, and this generation will forever be doomed because of the failure of this PNM government in the future. The children living through this time in the education sector are going to be seriously impaired because of the failure of the PNM. Why don't you say something about that? Why don't you do something about that? No word, but you're calling Kamala. Blame Kamala again. How about you women, the PNM women, the Women's League? Why don't you comment on these issues? How is it, I want to tell you, stop focusing on division. Stop masterminding political strife. Stop the promotion of political bias and bacchanal and chaos. Instead, focus on the people of this nation. They are suffering at the hands of this rowdy regime. And what I cannot tolerate, and I think none of us should ever tolerate, the unparalleled hypocrisy of this PNM Women's League. All of a sudden, they want to talk about decency and decorum. Calling my name, talking about decency and decorum. I want you to look at this video clip. If you can run it, please, for us.
And they want to know why we have not diversified the economy. Just drink your rum and get on my face. I choose my word very carefully. You could behave as an effective opposition leader. I think the country is better for that. But geometry is not really the way to deal with these things. Kamala Prasad Bisesa and the UNC go and put that bill where the monkey put the nuts. You see these boots I'm wearing? We, the farmers of Tobago and Texas, we call them shit kickers, right? And I'm hoping that I'll meet Dr. Munilal today, but I haven't met him so far. Take it in your pooch. And I go, of course, like a woman. You got to groom her every day. Or a pooch east. I want to talk about party elites and meet him outside on the pavement. Bring him, bring her, with licks in your waist, licks in your face, and licks all over your petty place. And then that, you call on the Prime Minister to do something about crime. I'm not in your bedroom, I'm not in your choice of men. That is tantamount to hugging up a porcupine to go to bed. Because I will tell you, like she loved me all along. But I will tell you all something. Every month I get my salary. I work very hard for it. I am in no position to take $1. I want every cent I work for and I want it on time. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything, the person who put me out regretted it. Sucking from the nipple of the Prime Minister, figuratively. Figuratively. them umbrella. And worse, to open the umbrella. And she could jump high, she could jump low. She could drink this, she could drink that. She could back me down, we can ignore she chat. And you will see government ministers who came into office looking like Miss Howard Chat.
Prime Minister, I'd like to take the conversation to a more social realm, the social climate. You look on social media.
It's Christmas time, we should have some drinks then.
Well, perhaps of the non-alcoholic flavor.
Well, that is not drink. And if I have to go to jail as a result of not responding to you in 14 days, come, I'm ready to go. I'm coming to the conclusion that it's all about respect. All about respect. If we're raising children, boys and girls, we start there to teach them to respect. And if we're in the workplace or if you're on the street talking to strangers, it's about respect. It's just shut your mouth and let Trinidad and Tobago strive.
So there you have it. The hypocrisy of the PNM. When you have your leader degrading everyone in this country, you had nothing to say. Today you want to tell us about decorum and decency. When the members of the PNM are degrading the people of this country, nothing to say, not a word. So I ask you now, PNM Women's League, WPC, Camille, and so on, focus on the nightmare your government has created for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Focus on improving the lot and the lives of all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. That's your job. So I tell you again, just leave my name out of your mouth. I am no lion like Rudy. So if you come into my den, I will just fight you as a decent human being, a woman who loves all the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and as a person who will do all that is legally right to ensure that every creed, every race, every human being in our country, or citizens, non-citizens who live here, that we improve their quality of life. That's what my job is. And I ask you to help me in that job. Because under this government, we've seen the economy has gone zero, flatlined, dead. And because Mr. Rowley told us recently that they want to bring an early budget, we have started to look at the policies and the economy and so on. And I want to share something. I want to mention and remind you of their poor track record when it comes to the economy. They promised, as they always do. PNM promises never materialize. Promised in their manifesto, headlined as follows, and I quote from their manifesto, 2015 manifesto, 7 years ago. They promised the productive sector, restoring growth, diversity, and confidence to the economy. To support this focus, they stated as key economic policies, listen very carefully. 1, macroeconomic stability, strong institutions, and investor confidence. 2, sustainable growth and diversification. And 3, job creation and promotion of social justice. These were their promises from 7 years ago. 7 years later, let's look at their record in respect of these. So let's share this, because we have to understand, if your economy goes, everything goes. You are paupers and beggars. We are fast going into what is known as a debt trap, which is to say we are borrowing more than we are producing. We are borrowing and spending more and more. We could end up like a Singapore. We could end up as a totally failed nation state, failed economy, where there is war and unrest on the street. So let's look at the record. Let's look at what we call the macroeconomic indicators. That's how when you know, like the doctors, Dr. Bodo will tell you, and the other doctors here, they'll tell you when you go what they do. First thing they do, they check your pulse. They check your blood pressure, your sugar levels, to test your health. What is the state of your health? Then they may do further investigations, because depending on what they find from these initial early tests. But the vital signs are, in any economy, what do we look at first? We look at statistics will tell us the state of the economy, the health of the economy. And these statistics let us know if our economy is healthy or if we are in need of life support. And I can tell you in every regard, we definitely have to be put on life support. And the PNM cannot do that. It will take a UNC government to come and resuscitate and rebuild this economy, rebuild this country. So let's look. Jobs, they talked about jobs, remember? And they promised about jobs. Under this government, our country has lost over $100,000. And then they hide the statistics because they don't really want us to know. MP Tanku will tell you that. They don't want us to know. But even at that, 100,000 jobs lost. And it is more and more counting every day. See what's happening at WASA, see what's happening at all the state institutions, see what's happening in the private sector as well. Job losses. I want you to remember what we did. We created, when we were in government, over 50,000 jobs. 50,000 jobs. And when we did that, we did not raise a single tax. Not one tax. Dr. Mullah spoke about the water, Khadija talked about local government and so on. Anna spoke of some other state institutions and whatever. We created that without one new tax. But raise your price, what it is, the fuel price, or we say, what once, not twice, 3 times, and they come in to raise it again. Make no doubt. And all your right, yet he laughing. That's a big joke for him. We created that 50,000 new jobs. They were new jobs. And I tell you, when you put us back in office, we will do it again. We will create more jobs. So they failed to keep their promise when it comes to the job creation. Let's look at another vital statistic, what is called the GDP, gross domestic product. This is when they talked about sustainable growth and investment. That's what they promised. The GDP measures the total output of the economy, and the trend has shown that our economy has declined. Of course, you know it, over the past 7 years and continues to decline. Minister of Finance, Imbert, in the mid-year review, he referred to the GDP at nominal prices being estimated to be, this year, fiscal, in the region of 170 billion TT dollars. We must go by the standard of the real GDP. This is when we adjust for the cost of inflation. So he wants to use nominal GDP again to, there's a famous book I remember when I was lecturing at the university, teaching language and logic and so on. Yes, we use this book, How to Lie with Statistics. And you all know it well. You can paint a picture, rosy picture. So he used the nominal GDP instead of the real GDP because that adjusted for inflation. Because remember, prices keep going up. So something that was $1 yesterday might be $2, but it doesn't mean it's more GDP. It just means inflation pushed it up. So let's look at the real numbers. We do not subscribe to that kind of economics from Imbert. We must take what the CSO publishes. The CSO up to this weekend has published GDP for the last fiscal year, calendar year 2021, at 136.4 billion. So I don't know, Imbert gets 170 billion, so he's lying about that too and playing with the stats. This is at constant 2012 prices. So when we're speaking of GDP, it is necessary to compare mangoes with mangoes. You can't take mango and compare it with orange. And worse yet, you can't take orange and compare it with apples. You have to take like as against like. Therefore, the total national output in the base year 2012 stood at 165 billion. And by 2015, my government, your government, we had taken it to $171 billion. So 2012, 165, we raised it to 171 billion. What that meant? In spite of the noises of creating stability, this government, they have presided over a decline in national output to the tune of $29.3 billion, not millions, $29.3 billion. This means our country generated $29.3 billion less last year under this PNM government than under the last year of the government that we led. So again, promises never materialized, no macroeconomic stability, definitely none. They talked about foreign direct investment. That's a good indicator when people want to bring their money and invest it in your country. Yes? It's a good indicator that things are fine. They feel that they will get what they call it ROI, a return on investment. So, hey, Trinidad's a great place. Let's go invest. Under my watch, I want to remind you, we brought in over $48 billion in foreign direct investment. $48 billion in the first 5 years under Rowley. The PNM has only 10 billion of that left. So out of that 48 billion, you understand what's happening? The confidence has been lost in the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm told that it is in reverse now. Where we were bringing in, now it's the other way. It's leaving, negative foreign direct investment, outflows, going out. The main reason for this departure of foreign direct investment happens when the companies take their profits elsewhere and no new companies replace the loss with reinvestment. So investors, both local and foreign, they have lost faith in Trinidad and Tobago as a foreign destination to put their money where their mouth is. On another day, we can speak to the gutting of the procurement legislation, what was described as emasculation of the office of the procurement regulator. This alone shows that government had no intention of strengthening institutions. They promised to strengthen institutions. Instead, they're doing the opposite. They're eroding and weakening these institutions. Strong institutions demand transparency. This cannot be obtained if government has rendered that procurement office into a toothless, what do you say, bulldog? I remember Commissioner of Police used to talk about the toothless bulldog. This government has undermined the very institution that was meant to be the guardian of your monies, of the public purse. They replaced it with a cabinet with record levels of recusals in the billions of dollars. Under this government, the country is for sale. Rowley describes himself as the #1 salesman, and he must answer on the recusals in his cabinet. What were the sales commissions that these members made? So let's close on that, on economic position, a little brief as we prep going to an early budget. They have failed in every single one of the promises they've made. The economy continues to decline, and they will continue to lie about the state of health of our economy. Their record does not demonstrate macroeconomic stability, not when the GDP declined by 29.3 billion. Emasculating the Office of Procurement Regulator, again, no transparency. They have failed to grow the economy. Their game changers all fail. You remember the famous game changers? Labre Dry Dock. Anybody from Labre here, Victor? Any dry dock down in Labre? No. What about sandals? Any sandal scandal? You remember that? Game changer, the famous game changer, sandals scandal. Indeed, it was a scandal. They talk about capital market machinations resulting in the mortgaging of our state assets. I think FCB is putting out another, Dave, selling out state assets. What is it? A public offering. IPO. Petrotrin shut down. Families, especially in the south, Marlborough is a ghost town. The famous dragon gas deal, and I'll come back to that because I see Stuart Young going off to Venezuela again. What's wrong with these people? Meeting with Maduro for what and why and where. I'll come back to that in a minute. Failed dragon gas deal. Scandals surrounding the Tobago Sea Bridge. Point Lisa's gas negotiations. What about the famous plyboard factory? Was it ever started? Again, none of these ever happened. None of these brought any innovations, and so none of them created any jobs, and instead jobs lost. So the total macroeconomic plan, failure. I'm coming back to Young now. Over the weekend, Stuart Young met with Nicolas Maduro. I want to ask Stuart if Al-Assami, who is indicted for drug trafficking by the United States, whether he was also at that meeting. I'm told he was. Tell us, did you meet with this drug trafficker indicted by the US? Was this meeting about energy matters or about illegal drug trafficking? Where was Amy Brown in all of this? Isn't he the Minister of Foreign Affairs? Where is Amy Brown, hiding somewhere? That Stuart Young goes off there to do what? We don't know. I want to warn this government, they are playing very dangerous games. Very, very dangerous game. You're playing with fire. Stood gallivanting all over the place talking about energy. Well, right here, our energy sector has collapsed. Collapsed the energy sector. Falling prices, falling to pieces, failed policies. Seo Chung went on CNN. He talked about oil and gas production when our country is at one of its lowest ever gas production periods that you can imagine. Thank you. Prime Minister went to Doha, remember? To boast about gas production, their train one has collapsed without any gas. So stop lying all over the place. Tell us what you're going to do to restore and increase oil and gas production. Thanks to 7 years of lies and failure in the energy sector, you have cost this country billions from the high oil and gas prices that are now prevailing, that we are experiencing worldwide. And I want to warn the government again. Are you trying to get sanctioned by the US? Is that what you're trying to get Trinidad and Tobago sanctioned? I remember we raised this once before. And Rowley came to Parliament. Dr. Mulilal had raised the issue of the possibility, and I had raised it, about the possibility of sanctions because of they were flirting with Venezuela and with Maduro. And Rowley came in the Parliament and get on really bad. And WPC Camille get on worse. She said, what the US could do we? What they could do we? They could do we anything? And they cussed up this very same late departed, Mandela was the ambassador at the time. Both Rowley and Camille came to the Parliament and buff up the US. So we had said, you all, are you inviting sanctions from the US? Okay, so they survived that. This time, will we survive? When you are consorted with known drug traffickers, sanctioned by the US, sanctioned went way back to Doha to meet with another sanctions country. We are courting danger here in the behavior of the government. And talking about oil and gas, we have to ask about the refinery. What is the update on that refinery? Anybody knows? You complain about scrap iron dealers when you've taken one of the greatest assets of our country, that Petrotrin, and turned it into one scrap heap. Scrap metal heap. And you're crying all about scrap iron or whatever you call it, scrap metal, copper and certain things. What is the status of that refinery? Over 100 years of proud history we had. We had one of the oldest oil industries in the world, well known for it. You turned on the entire refinery, as I say, into a scrap metal heap. And did you do it to protect your friend? Did you shut down Petrotrin? Because none of the reports commission recommended to shut down Petrotrin. None. None. Was it to protect your friend? How much is TT earning now? Zero, because of your selfish, corrupt, cold-hearted policies. I asked the government, tell us the true story of the refinery. Where is this company called Quanten? You remember that thing? Quanten. We found out Quanten was located somewhere in California, in a house, somebody's house. But we also know that Prime Minister went to California and spent almost a month. What was he doing for a whole month in California? And boy, everybody, I'm so sorry. You know, people get COVID and things, but this man get COVID 3 times. Wow. I think we should pray for him, you know, for him to recover. 3 times the man get COVID. Yes, but spent a month in California doing what? I asked the government, tell us the story of the refinery. They told us some firm, this Quanten, wanted to buy it. When we raised the questions in the parliament, outside the parliament, what happened? We don't hear a word anymore about it. Nothing. This government really feel everybody in this country, everybody, all are fools. They take us for fools. And sometimes some of us do behave like that. But the good point, you could be a fool some of the time. But you are not a fool all of the time. Thank God for that, because we'll call you out. We'll hold you to account. You must tell us what is the status of the refinery at Petrotrin. Tell us. And then we saw all people all over Trinidad flooded out Flooding, local government, you out there, practitioners, you were there. Everywhere, the clouds just set up, and the place started to flood. The rain didn't even start. You remember this, they call us a box rain government? I wish we had continued with those box rains because it would have helped the flooding. So, empty words. Tomorrow the Prime Minister is hosting some forum. What are they calling? A conference? What is it? A meeting tomorrow to come and lecture to the local government people. He has invited the local government practitioners. I don't know if it's only the UNC ones, but we know you all received invitations to attend in Port of Spain somewhere. 7 years you're sitting there. You ever talk to one local government person? You think we are fools and we are all fools? On the eve of a local government election, you want to come and talk to local government councillors. For what? For what? What are you coming to say? Don't be fools, people. They think I say we could be a fool sometimes. All of us make mistakes. But we must not be fools all the time. So that entire exercise tomorrow is not to tell you anything, you know. It's not to ask you anything, you know. That is a PR stunt. That is a total hypocritical public relations gimmick. For 7 years, you've done nothing. And look at all over our country, the flooding, the roads, infrastructure, everything going through. But he wants you to come and sit down there and listen to him for an hour. I hope some of you are smart and do the right thing. Eh? Because if you want to listen to him, you could read it in the papers the next day. Don't go give him any audience. Do not give him an audience. And he cannot fire you, remember that? You could fire him, but he cannot fire you. So don't feel when he calls, you must go running. Because when you were crying and begging in your communities for help, Pinal, Debe, don't know what was it, the Diesel, Separa, Do Equipment, Mayaro, all these corporations, nothing. You know, a minister who is now deceased, God rest his soul, was Minister of Works under this PNM, previous Minister of Works. And that Caroni River, he took some time to do some work to prevent the flooding by that Caroni River. And you know what another minister told him? What you fixing south of the Caroni for? Why are you fixing the Caroni River? Who getting flood out? Everybody else, but not them in town. That is their mentality. So all these corporations, he wants an audience tomorrow. Are you going to give him that audience tomorrow? I'm asking you. And you think you could go there and buff him up? Look, even the reporters, when they go to ask questions, he buffing the reporters. You think when you ask him something, he's going to answer you after 7 years? So people, don't be fooled by this incompetent and lazy Prime Minister. And I will be very disappointed to see you all sit down like a little fowl in a yard. Yes? Sit down there like, oh, wow, amazing. The Prime Minister is speaking to me. He will not speak with you, he'll buff you. As you've seen, that's what he does with everyone. So make me proud tomorrow. Boycott that forum tomorrow. Stay home. Stay home. You see, sometimes you have to look beyond the gesture. People, all you feeling nice, boy. Hey, imagine the Prime Minister invite me to come. Wow. Stay home. Stay in Pinal, stay in Mayaro, stay up in Grandy, stay wherever you are and look after the people in your district. That's what you must do. Because they will not do it. They have never done it and they will not do it. Yes, tell them, that's what you have to tell them. Where the money gone? Where the money gone? You can't fix the roads, you can't give us water. No releases whatsoever. And then you want to blame the corporations. I see down the road they're blaming me again. Of course, yes, we decided not to what to say. If they don't feel good for the day if they don't call it him. Yes, until they call my name. So they put some kind of yellow drums, I think, at the end of the highway. And they're blaming me that we did not complete the highway 7 years later. And Munilal told you tonight how many years in government? 45? 45 years PNM ruling this country. You want to blame me? Thank God they had promised that highway since 1950. It took a UNC partnership government to bring the highway to where it reached. And they're so dotish. They put these barrels because they say people crashing. Why don't you do like what normal civilized people do? Put some signs. Signs. Road ends in 50 feet. Slow down, whatever it may. Put up some signs. Put up some flashing lights. All this barrel you put there for people to bounce the barrel and get damaged to. Who is advising you? And if you can't, look, I am not a road person. Nobody advises me. It makes sense. We travel, we go to places, we see, slow down, road narrows, road comes to an end. So by the time you reach it, by the roundabout, you stop. So somebody, I hope somebody listening, but that's what we should do. And if they don't do it, maybe we could ask the corporations to help and let's put up some signs. That barrel not going to stop no car. If you want the car to slow down, tell the driver to slow down. And especially people don't know that. It is true, I pass there all the time to go home. We go down the highway there, right? 7 years, and you've done nothing. I made a very serious mistake, which I apologize for. I'm reminded, I said Singapore, it was Sri Lanka. A failed state in Sri Lanka. Singapore, I apologize. They're doing very well, very, very well. Little island, and they did great. Thanks for the correction, whoever gave us. So here we are talking about infrastructure and whatever it is. I have some plans. I could spend a few minutes to share with you before I close. And it is this. For infrastructure, because that is what is badly needed. To do this, improve infrastructure, we had suggested, and we still suggest, that we have a national physical infrastructure improvement plan to deal with infrastructure, critical issues, roads, drainage, public transport, road rehabilitation. In addition to the proposed construction of the San Fernando to Mayaro Highway, we had promised it, but you all didn't give us a chance. That was in 2020. We promised to do in 2015, and then again, that road from San Fernando to Mayaro, a highway. You ever go down Mayaro? Yes, Raymond, I know you, but anybody, it is the worst piece of road you could find anywhere in the world. To go down there, we had said we will build that highway. We had talked about extending the Point 14 highway to Cedros. But they didn't even reach Cedros, they didn't even reach Point 14 yet. 7 years later, and blaming Kamla for not completing the highway. Sort of foolish people. An upgrade of the Manzalina to Mayaro Road. That was part of the road infrastructure. They have no clear plan. To reduce traffic congestion, a UNC government will go on a nationwide road rehabilitation and enhancement program, including undertaking timely repairs of all our secondary roads. Now, if you watch YouTube and whatever, and you see what people do in other parts of the world, they have like a machine, a vehicle, for pothole fixing, you know. And it's amazing how it works. It's like a robot of its own. It will measure the size of the pothole, and then it will dump whatever it is you put in the pothole to fill the pothole. We can use innovations like that. But we're not even trying to fix a pothole, much just reaching to get the machine to help it make it easier and cheaper. Let's look at traffic problems everywhere. Traffic. And with the potholes, of course, there's more traffic that we get backed up. Delays in transporting your goods and so on. So we have to come up with some plans to reduce traffic congestion. These are some of the things I want to suggest, you see, because we can't just come here every night and cry and complain. We must have ideas, we must plans and proposals for helping with traffic management then. A UNC government will undertake the following traffic management solutions. We will construct park and ride facilities at appropriate locations in Arima, Chaguana, Cuva, Grande, Tunapuna, San Fernando. So you park up and you get public transport and you go into the towns to do your business. It will ease up the congestion and ease up your stress as well. Further, We have the water taxis, yes, but we need to have more hubs. We can put one at Carly Bay, a water taxi hub at Carly Bay. We can put one down in Point 14, down Cedras, Mayaro. So that too will ease the traffic congestion, ease up your stress. Excuse me. We suggest that we put a bus rapid transit system, which has been successful in countries such as Brazil and Argentina. Establish dedicated, predictable bus rapid transport system, transit from north to south, east to west. Dedicated and on time, of course. Dedicated rapid transit systems in these places. We should restart the process of decentralization of government ministries and offices, which will also reduce the traffic going into Port of Spain. And reduce people having to go to town. Yes. For everything. We had set up, I think they've totally disbanded it in the Ministry of Legal Affairs. We had set up at various locations throughout the country where you could go and get birth certificates and death certificates. You all remember that? Does it still exist? No. No. So we have to decentralize government. That was one of the reasons we built that massive building for licensing in Caroni. So that you didn't have to go into town to do everything. I don't even know if they're operating it. Anybody from Caroni knows if it's working, if it's functioning. Okay, thank God they didn't throw that away like they throw away so many things we did. We will implement a remote work policy. Remote work policy. The pandemic has taught us it could be done. So again, you don't have to drive into town or the various towns. Some work can be done and monitored. It's not like you stay home and pretending you're working. It can be properly monitored, so you can have a flexi-time policy as well. So everybody not heading in the same direction every morning. You can have a flexi time. Some can stagger the day. Some start for 8, some for 9, some from 1. And people love that too. You know, some people are night people, some are morning people, evening people. So you have remote working. You could have flexi time working, different times of the day. And the COVID has taught us, as I say, that remote work is possible. And it can also lead to improved productivity. Dealing still with infrastructure as I move along, flood prevention program. We must have a flood prevention program. We must. A UNC government will focus on some of the following. Cleaning and desilting rivers. Cleaning and simple. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to be a genius like Einstein. I mean, oh God, just clean the rivers now. Desilt the rivers, including the Caroni, the Ottawa, the River, Oropuch, Lagoon. Cleaning and desilting rivers. Constructing sediment traps and check dams in the upper reaches of priority water courses. Sediment traps, check dams, hold the water. Removing, this policy has been around for a while, constructing water detention ponds and levees and place pumps, gates in strategic locations. Now, this was a John Humphrey idea from way back. He was a brilliant man, is a brilliant man. That if the water is going to flood an area, you set up a retention pond. You dig a pond and retain the water. When there's excess water, you have these retention ponds to hold the water that doesn't all go. And that holding of that water, I think somebody, again, Munilal, talked about the only place that no flood is a reservoir. So these retention ponds can also serve as a supply for water, for Wassa. No. They have none. And a society and nation without a vision will surely perish, which is where this PNM is taking us. Removing accidental and illegal blockages in the water courses, culverts, and bridges. Simple. Some people in this country, they'll go and dump all the old fridge and old stove in a river somewhere. We have to clean them up. Maintaining the roads, secondary and tertiary drains as well. Increasing drainage capacity, yes. So there's some of the infrastructure and some things dealing with flooding and drainage and so on. So you'll ask me then, when are you going to get this money? Where will you get the money from? And I can tell you how. For these large-scale products, we'll need money. And so we will set up something known as a National Infrastructure Fund. A National Infrastructure Fund. This fund will support strategic investments in public transport, green infrastructure, also solar, water, and wastewater facilities. Climate resilient infrastructure and social infrastructure, such as greenhouses. We have started to do that under our Deputy Leader, now Deputy Leader Jalen John and Dr. Monilal. Greenhousing, again, for climate necessities. This infrastructure fund will reduce government's need to borrow or increase taxes to fund major infrastructure projects, road, airports, seaports, and so on. I talked this before the 2020 elections, and the PNM went well. And they said this infrastructure fund was whatever it is, all the nasty things they say about everything. And we suggested where will we get the money from to put into the fund. And we made suggestions from certain institutions, and they started to scream, well, that's exactly what they are doing, but except the difference is we don't know where they're spending their money. They're doing exactly what we said could be done to gain money without borrowing, but they are not putting it into the projects to deal with infrastructure, to deal with drainage, to deal with water, nothing. Where the money gone? We keep asking that question, where has all that money gone? Private institutional investors, life insurance companies, pension funds, they can be encouraged to invest in the National Infrastructure Fund to fund our rehabilitation of infrastructure, new infrastructure. There are international funds as well that are yet untapped, and again, Monilal told you about, we had negotiated the IDB loan, and these people totally fouled up on it, messed up on it, and money went back. And there's a lot of that happens because they do not carry through in implementation. So we do have many ways in which we can raise money without borrowing and going further into debt. So my friends, before I close, I want to share with you some party events, party dates. Others have mentioned it. Friday, we want to see all of you. Let's come out for fellowship, family fun day, the 12th, from 12 noon at the Fun Splash Water Park. Facilities will be free to you all and your families, your children and so on, friends and family. You just have to bring your own food and drinks. So we'll provide the music, we'll provide the infrastructure, we'll have the infrastructure for the all fours, for the cooking, the curry duck and the chow and the choker competitions and the all fours competition. We'll have all of that there. Just bring yourselves and your families. Let us bond together as the UNC in fellowship says, thank you all for the support over the years. Thank you, we've just come through the internal elections and continue for us to meet and bond together. New dates I want to raise. After that Fun Family Day on the 12th, we have the football competition at the Center of Excellence. I think that is 21 and 22 August, am I correct? 20 and 21 August. So on our Facebook pages, you'll see it on my Facebook, the numbers, if you want to register and get involved. I'm told the demand is very high for two things. People who want to cook curry duck down by the Fun Splash. So it'll be on a first come. Those of you who register early, well, of course, you'll get, the early bird gets the place to cook. And the football, similarly, we can't accommodate everyone, so please look for the numbers on the Facebook and call in. Thereafter, we have some very important party business, political business that we must get involved in. Today, I announced the nominations are open for all local government seats. Nominations are open. And those will close on Friday, 2nd September, 4 p.m. Now, the forms are available at the headquarters here. From Wednesday of this week, the forms will be available. The National Executive met and we took this decision, the new NATEX, and we vetted the forms. We're happy with the new forms, but we had to get them printed. So we will have them here from 8 a.m. on Wednesday, August 10th, and we'll be here until close of nominations, Friday, 2nd September 2022. So I know you all are interested in that. We will contest every single seat on the UNC ticket. Khadija mentioned to you the games that the PNM is playing. because they cannot hold a local election without approving in Parliament the EBC order where there are changes of boundaries in some. I think in Mayaro there's some change in Mayaro. I think in Chaguanas there's some change. No, the other one, Kuva Tabakit, yes, Kuva Tabakit Talparo Corporation, some changes there. I don't think there's much else anywhere. Remind me, anyone? Khadija? Any other corporations with change? Chaguanas also has changes, and okay, so Kuva Tabakit, Chaguanas, and Mayaro, those three. We will, Pinal Devi has a change? One PD? Or a new seat, or a change? Changes in the PDs, okay. Okay, we're going to win Sapara, are we not? We have to make sure and win Grandi too. We have to make sure and win Princess Town. We have to make sure and win Kuva, Tabakit, Talparo. Come on, man, let me hear you. We have to win Chaguanas. We have to win Mayaro. And we are going to win the borough of San Fernando in this election. So let us work together and make it happen. I have a little grandson, you know, he's gone off to study now. I miss him so much, but he will call me on the phone. Okay, Grandma, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make it happen. And I realize that's what I say. Make it happen, guys. We will win, we'll contest every seat. Let us make it happen, make it happen, make it happen. We also, NATEX met, and we also planned the constituency executive elections on the north and the east, our constituencies in the north and in the east, Saturday, 17th September, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Save the date, please. Saturday, 17th September, from 8 to 6 in the north and the east constituencies, and in the south and central, Sunday, 18th September, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we'll do on 2 days, north and east constituencies on Saturday, 17th September, south and central, Sunday, 18th September. I know sometimes we don't have an election in some constituencies because there is no contest, so we have our election team. NATEX has established an elections committee, and they will work with each of the constituencies to make sure we carry this forward. We need new constituency executives because in some constituencies, some persons have passed away. Some are no longer, have the time to give as they would want to, and we need to have properly functioning constituency executives because we have elections, whichever they call, local, general. Anyone? We will be ready for them. We ready? We ready? Are we ready? We are ready. We are ready. And then we have to do the women's arm and the youth arm as well. Women's arm, youth arm. What I didn't tell you with the constituency executive elections is nominations will be open Wednesday, 10th August, right here, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we will close. This is the constituency election. Save the date. And we'll put them out on the Facebook as well, on the sites. That will close Friday, 26th August at 4 p.m. So we open nominations as well for executives, the various constituencies. We close those nominations August 26th, and then we hold elections Saturday 17 and Sunday 18th August. Women and Youth Arm Executive has decided that we will hold these elections on Sunday the 2nd of October, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Coover South Hall for the Women's Arm and the Youth Arm, a joint congress of the Youth Congress and the Women's Congress. Your nominations for this again opens Wednesday, 10th August. It's open, but the forms will be available on Wednesday, 10th August here. And nominations for the youth and women will close on Friday, 9th September at 4 p.m. All nomination forms are available here at the headquarters. So please come and get them. Local government, constituency elections, women's arm, youth arm, all these elections, we have to get them out of the way with functioning teams in each of these arms of the party as we go forward towards the local or general. Let me make a prediction here tonight. I am not a CO1. I work with data. We checked the law when the National Executive met. I asked the lawyers on the team to check the law. The local government elections are due on the anniversary date of the last election. Your last election was on the 2nd of December, so it will be 2nd December, the day after the 3rd December. So a local government election cannot, and I repeat, cannot be held according to law before the 3rd December. Cannot be held according to law. Khadija earlier told you how many times Manin came and changed the law. So we just have to see, to change the law, they have to come to Parliament, so we will have enough notice that they plan to delay holding the local. So the earliest date, 3rd December, and the outside date, according to the present law, is 3rd March. So there's a window of opportunity from 3rd December to 3rd March for legally calling the elections. And then, you know, to call an election, Mr. Pandey, when he was Prime Minister, when we were in government, with the UNC government, we had changed the law, the Representation of the People Act. We had changed the law, whereas the then law was to give 3 weeks notice of an election, we had changed it to 5 weeks. So I've given you the window, 3rd December, 3rd March, but they have to give you 5 weeks notice. The 5 weeks notice can come before the 3rd, or it can come during that period I've just mentioned. Obviously it can't come after. So you keep those dates in your mind. And then we remember February's Carnival and Lent thereafter. We remember December is also, I'm told, I don't know because they are so secretive about these things. I see some people want to use mail-in ballots. You know what mail-in ballots mean? Send it to you and then you could send back 5. In the United Kingdom, the security services, you know the United Kingdom, they are England looking for a new Prime Minister. And the security intelligence forces in the United Kingdom warned the Conservative Party about the mail-in ballots, of the possibility of tampering and what you call it when people hacking and all these other things. So it's something we could look forward to not happening in Trinidad and Tobago. And if you want to use that for your business, I'm not in your business, I'm not in your bedroom, I told you that already. That's okay, but don't ever try to bring anything like that for the national elections, local or general. So friends, I've shared all of this with you. Shared those dates, the windows. I'm told they're having their internal elections. That's where I went off on somewhere in early December. So we wait and see. If they're having their internal elections then, will they hold the local elections before the 3rd, during the 3rd, or in December at all? So it looks like a January election, and because I say that today, guess what? We might get an earlier election, which we are very happy to get in any case. So enough is enough. It's time to get rid of the PNM. They must go, PNM must go, PNM must go. After 7 years of shambles, our country in shambles, they do not care about advancing our nation. Right now they have a mindset, tongue could burn down, TT could burn down, but they jamming still. As long as their pockets are full, they are happy. They do not care about your suffering. They laugh about it. We have an election due this year, local, general, whichever. And I'm calling on every one of you to come out. Let us send a clear and loud message to Rowley, to the PNM. Enough is enough. You remember that? Enough is enough. They have to go. And the only way our country has a hope to survive is if the UNC is returned into office. So let's get on track. All local government people, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. I feel really happy to see so many of you. And I hope you take good advice and don't get fooled tomorrow to fly up to Port of Spain to do what? You could watch the man on TV. You could hear him on radio. And you could read him. So there's nothing new that he can possibly come to tell you. Whether it be our local. Did they tell you what is the agenda of that meeting? And all you want to go, boys. I mean, you don't even know what you're going for. You really want to go and meet Mr. Rowley? I mean, for real. For real. That's what the lady told us. That is singing right. So, tomorrow, have a great day. God bless all of you. Go home safe tonight. And remember, all you ready? Yes. Well, let me hear you. You ready? Yes. Are you ready? God bless you. Thank you very much. Thank you all very, very much.
The voice of the people is the voice of God. The tables are turning, your eyes are opening. Welcome to the revolution.
People crying out for justice. Some of them crying out for freedom.
Want freedom.
Everybody crying out for democracy. Now it's time to take a stand, yeah.
Come on! Cause this is the revolution. The people's revolution. This is the revolution. I wanna hear everybody sing. Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Everybody sing. As we move in this people's revolution, my brothers and sisters, let's all walk together as one. This revolution is about restoring our democracy. And this revolution is about stopping this creeping dictatorship. This is the people's revolution.
Come on, people. Come on, people. Come on, people. Come on, come on, come on.
The people's revolution. The voice of the people is the voice of God. The tables are turning, your eyes are opening. Welcome to the revolution.
People crying out for justice. Some of them crying out for freedom.
Want freedom.
Everybody crying out for democracy. Now it's time to take a stand, yeah.
Come on! Cause this is the revolution. The people's revolution. This is the revolution. I wanna hear everybody sing. Everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Everybody sing. As we move in this people's revolution, my brothers and sisters, let's all walk together as one. This revolution is about restoring our democracy. And